Yeah, well, I mean, that's what's strange. It's as if no one has ever been under the age of 18, so they don't seem to remember. Social distancing is impossible as far as I can see. Now, obviously, if you have 25% of the school there, that might be possible. So when they talk about a phased return, let's say they decide to just have the year 10s in and the year 12s, because those are the year groups that will be going through to exams next year, you could do it. And I say you could do it. There will be difficulty. For one, you have to rejig the entire timetable. And people who don't work in schools, and this isn't anyone's fault because they don't work in schools, they don't know that a timetable, every year when the new timetable for the next year is created, it takes 3, 4, 5, even 6 weeks for it to appear. And the timetable guy is like, a slightly weird guy, maybe a bit of a nerd. He likes numbers and all that. And he goes away into a room and locks himself away for days on end, and then eventually emerges with the timetable.
That would be me if I was employed in a school. I'd be the nerdy guy.
Yeah.
So the thing is, the idea of, oh, it's all right, you just collapse classes, oh, you just throw in a bit of this, throw in a bit of that, it'll all be fine. I mean, it's not so easy. Now, I'm not saying it's not impossible. And at Michaela, obviously, we're all about being excellent and so on. So, we'll do whatever is required. But from a national point of view, we need to recognize that not all schools will be in a position to be able to do that. And then who are you letting back in? Are you only letting those children back in and everybody else has to stay at home? Or are you letting everybody back in? And if you're letting everybody back in, social distancing is impossible. People start posting things about, Chinese children wearing hats that are a meter long, keeping them apart from each other. Have you been to the schools in China? And have you been to the schools in England? Because they're really different places, And I'm saying this as the headmistress of the strictest school in Britain, We get over 600 visitors a year. And they're mainly teachers, and they cannot believe the order and the wonderful behavior and so on. And to a certain extent, if we had, say, 50% of kids, 40%, 30%, we would be able to do it. But we have very narrow corridors. We're not the only school in the country that has corridors that are maybe just over a meter wide. The children are necessarily touching each other when they're passing. But not only that, kids are kids. They run up to each other. They hug each other. They do birthday tweets. Craziness, I was on my walk the other day, and I ran into one of them. I ran into a couple of them actually separately, and one of them had these blue gloves on, and she was so excited to see me. She came running up to me, went to give me a big hug. So she was wearing the gloves, was aware of this idea of you need to protect yourself, but then saw me and wanted to give me a hug. So and because they're kids. They don't kind of realize. Another boy who I ran into, I dropped the cover of my my water bottle. He immediately went and picked it up and gave it to me, and I was going, no. That's 2 kids. Imagine 800, 900, 1,500 children in a school with narrow corridors in classrooms. The classrooms are only big enough to sit 30 kids right next to each other. When they come up out of their chairs to move out of the classroom, well, they're necessarily touching each other. We're handing out paper, books, pens all of the time. So I think, sadly, there are a lot of people making pronouncements about what is possible in school when they don't actually work in schools. So that's one thing. But I do take the point. So people then think, because I've said social distancing is impossible in schools, therefore I'm saying we shouldn't go back to school. I am not of the opinion that we shouldn't go back to school for some 10 months. That would be crazy. In fact, I don't hold an opinion at all about when we should go back. And the reason I don't hold that opinion is because I feel I don't really know. I'm not a virologist. I'm not an economist. I'm not an expert at these things. So I'm waiting for the experts to tell us when they think is the right time for us to go back. And I will do as told. And I know some people in the education world get very angry when they hear that and they think, no, we should all refuse to go back. And I sort of think, well, what, are we going to refuse to go back forever? I mean, I don't, at some point we've got to go back. And at some point we need to try and make it work. How that happens, I don't know. And I'm not saying what the right way is, but I am saying we need to trust the people who are making these decisions. And I think that's the difficulty that sometimes people have, especially in education, because a lot of people in education are left-leaning, and the government, of course, is right-leaning. So they feel that they can't trust the government to make the right decisions for them. My opinion on leadership is that, you know, in my own school, for instance, I ask the staff to trust me all the time with decisions that I make. It's the only way anything works. Any organization only works when you trust the leader and go with the leader. If we're all backbiting and fighting all the time and accusing the government of doing X, Y, and Z, then we're just going to blow up, I think. So yeah, my position is social distancing is impossible, but I do recognize that we need to go back to school at some point, whenever that is. And, you know, I genuinely hope it's sooner rather than later, because I miss the kids, I miss the staff, I miss the normal way of doing things. You know, I love school. So obviously I would prefer to go back, but obviously I don't want to put people's lives in danger.